Alright, picture this for a second. You're working at Maruti Suzuki, and it's your job to sell cars. Not just one specific model, but their entire lineup. So on a Tuesday morning, you're trying to figure out how to sell a car to a 22-year-old fresh college grad in Pune who's taking out an EMI for his very first ride. But wait, at the exact same time, you've got to sell to a family of 5 living in Lucknow who desperately needs cabin space and great mileage. And if that wasn't enough, you also need to sell to a 38-year-old startup founder in Bangalore. She wants something super premium, but she still wants that rock-solid reliability of the Maruti service network. It's the exact same overarching brand, but you're dealing with 3 completely different, wildly distinct customers.
So here's the ultimate dilemma you're facing. How in the world do you sell to everyone? How does a massive brand like Maruti decide exactly who to go after, how to reach them, and what specific message to pitch to each of them? Now, just to be clear, we are talking about segmentation today. We already covered how to slice and dice the market in our previous explainer. Today, we're tackling the million-dollar question of what comes next. Today, we're talking all about targeting.
Here's our quick agenda for today's explainer. First up, what is targeting? Then, we'll hit the 4 targeting strategies. Third, we'll dive deep into the Maruti NEXA story. Fourth, choosing a strategy. And finally, a quick exam takeaway to wrap it all up.
Okay, let's dive into this. What is targeting, and where does it fit into the STP framework? Look, the fundamental reality of business is that once you've divided your market up into segments, you simply cannot serve all of those segments equally well. It's just not possible. Your resources are limited, your marketing budgets are capped, and honestly, consumer attention is incredibly scarce. So, as a marketer, you are forced to make a hard choice. That crucial decision-making process, that's called targeting. The legendary Philip Kotler defines it perfectly. Targeting is the process of evaluating each segment's attractiveness and selecting one or more segments to serve. Think about the difference this way, all right? Segmentation is observing the market and saying, hey, here are the different groups out there. Targeting is actually taking action and saying, right, here is exactly which of those groups we are going to focus our time and money on.
Let's just quickly anchor ourselves in the broader marketing framework so we don't lose the plot. Targeting doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It is step 2 of the famous STP framework. Step 1 is segmentation. That's where you divide the market. Step 2, which is our entire focus today, is targeting. That's where you choose your focus. And step 3, which we'll hit in our next explainer, is positioning. That's how you shape the customer's perception. 3 distinct steps, but one seamlessly connected strategy.
Moving on to Section 2, the 4 targeting strategies, ranging from super broad all the way down to the highly granular.
When you decide to target a market, you basically have a spectrum of choices. Let's break these down using some real heavy-hitting Indian brands so you can see exactly how they function in the wild. Strategy number 1 is undifferentiated targeting. In this approach, you basically just ignore the segment differences entirely. You look at the whole market and you offer one single product with one single message. Just think of Amul. Utterly, butterly delicious. One product, one message. Amul isn't out there running campaigns saying, hey, this butter is for rich people, and a totally separate one saying, this butter is for poor people. They don't divide it up by young or old. Why? Because practically everyone eats butter. When your product has that kind of massive universal appeal and the differences between segments are basically zero, you just go to the whole market with one unified offer.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing all 4 strategies compared side by side. We just talked about Amul doing undifferentiated targeting, but moving one step down, we have differentiated targeting. This is where you go after multiple segments, but you craft a totally different offer for each one. That's exactly what Maruti Suzuki does, and we're going to unpack that big time in just a second. Next up is concentrated targeting. Here, you pick just one specific segment and you go all in. Think of Paper Boat. They didn't try to sell a generic soft drink to every single person in India. No way. They went after urban millennials who were nostalgic about traditional Indian drinks. You know, Ampana, Jaljeera, Kokum. Startups with limited budgets use this to deeply, intensely own one specific space. And finally, the most granular approach of all, micro-marketing. This is targeting literally down to the local or even the individual level. Shoddy.com is a brilliant example of this. You're targeted by religion, caste, language, income, city, the whole shebang. One person, one highly specific profile, one exact match.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Maruti NEXA story. An absolutely brilliant case study in differentiated targeting.
For decades, Maruti just dominated India with a single, incredibly powerful promise: affordability and crazy good fuel efficiency. Kitna deti hai wasn't just a tagline, it was their absolute anthem. And for the mass market, man, it worked beautifully. But right around 2012, the market started shifting. Buyers are getting younger, disposable incomes are rising, and Maruti's unbeatable image as the ultimate budget brand actually started working against them. Once a customer's budget crossed that Rs 10 lakh mark, they stopped looking at Maruti. They started buying Hyundais, Hondas, and Volkswagens. Maruti was losing the premium segment entirely simply because they had never explicitly targeted it. So, in 2015, they pulled a genius move. They launched an entirely new retail channel called NEXA. And this brilliantly illustrates differentiated targeting. If you walk into a standard Maruti Arena showroom today, it feels familiar. It's bright, it's open, it's your typical bustling car dealership. But walk into a NEXA showroom, it's a completely different universe. Dim lights, calm, soothing music, shiny floors. It feels less like a shop and more like a premium VIP lounge. They make you feel like someone very special is about to hand you the keys to a luxury vehicle. And the cars sold at NEXA? They aren't sold at Arena. It is the exact same parent company, but they deployed two completely different targeting strategies, offering two totally different experiences designed exclusively for two completely different sets of customers.
So, you're probably wondering, did it work? Oh, absolutely. By its 10-year anniversary in 2025, the NEXA channel celebrated cumulative sales of over 3.2 million vehicles. Let that sink in. This move successfully allowed Maruti to tap into a much more affluent customer base without alienating their core audience. They shifted their perception from being just a budget small car player to a brand that fiercely competes in the mid and upper ends of the market. And because of this dual targeting approach, today, 7 out of India's top 10 best-selling passenger vehicles come from Maruti Suzuki. They capture the first-time buyer with the Rs 3.7 lakh Alto, and they capture the premium SUV buyer with the Rs 30 lakh Grand Vitara. That, my friends, is the very definition of differentiated targeting executed at a massive scale.
All right, Section 4, choosing a strategy. Let's look at the 4 key factors you need to consider. As a marketer, or even just as an MBA student analyzing a business case, how do you actually know which of those 4 strategies to deploy? Well, you need to evaluate 4 specific factors. Let's rapid fire through these. Factor 1 is resources. Are you a startup with a really tight budget? If so, you concentrate. Don't spread yourself thin across the whole market. Find a niche and own it. Factor 2 is product variability. Is your product basically the exact same for everyone, like salt or sugar? Then undifferentiated targeting is your best bet. But if your product can be heavily customized for different needs, like cars, you absolutely must go differentiated. Factor 3 is market variability. If all your buyers have the exact same preferences, stick to undifferentiated. But if preferences vary wildly across demographics, you've got to differentiate. And finally, Factor 4, competitor strategy. Take a hard look at what the rest of the market is doing. If your massive competitors are already targeting absolutely everyone with an undifferentiated approach, your smartest play is to find a hyper-specific niche and concentrate all your efforts right there instead.
So the crucial point is right here in Section 5, your exam takeaway.
Let's distill this down into a high-energy cheat sheet. Burn this into your memory for your exams. There are 4 targeting strategies: undifferentiated, differentiated, concentrated, and micromarketing. Got it? Good. And the absolute best way to explain how differentiated targeting works in the real world is the Maruti case study. You've got the mass market captured through the Arena showrooms, plus the premium market captured through the NEXA showrooms, which equals differentiated targeting at scale. Different segments, different products, totally different experiences, and distinctly different messages.
But you know what? That still leaves one massive piece of the puzzle unsolved. Think about it. Once you've chosen your target audience, how do you actually get them to view your brand exactly the way you want them to? How, for instance, do brands like Decoded and Savlon take what is basically the exact same chemical antiseptic liquid, yet manage to sell it to completely different consumer mindsets? Well, that is the pure magic of positioning. It's the final step in the STP trilogy, and we're going to unpack exactly how they pull it off in our next explainer. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that finale. Until then, keep learning and keep focusing your target.